Jake, what's up, man? It is good seeing you here tonight. What's happening?
Not much, man. We had a great weekend. I mean, we you and I got to spend some time actually like in person with each other. That was cool. And now we're back in the studio. So yeah, we're having fun, man.
Well, I'm down with that. So, the topic of the day is visibility. And I
Yeah.
want to go deep dive here today on visibility. You and I just got back from an incredible event in California, and it was the key theme was visibility. And also, another key point was not being held back by preconceived notions. The two I feel like go hand in hand. Uh,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
talk today about
Totally.
let's talk today about what visibility really means, how do people get it, and where to go to get visibility. So when I talk about visibility, let's define it in the parameters that we want our audience to hear. Right? Let's talk about being seen. What do you say?
Yeah. So like when we're talking about being seen, I agree with you completely that those two go hand in hand. Those preconceived labels, whatever you want to call them, of getting out there and being that person. So like definition for us, like about a year ago, you and I made the decision. We said, all right, in order for our businesses to be where our businesses need to be, we have to become influenced. We have to become the influencers in our space. We had to make a decision to do so. Previously, we had not, we were, Mike didn't really have much presence on social media at all. Mine was pretty lame
Yep.
where that existed. I didn't really do any email marketing. I wasn't doing newsletters. I wasn't doing speaking engagements. We certainly didn't have a TV show. We weren't visible in the public eye, in the current eye of where everything is. Now everybody has a little bit different definition of visibility, and that I think is a little bit relative to scale. But like looking at this weekend, one of the probably most impact. There was a lot of great stuff that came out of it, mind you. One of the most impressive moments that I saw is one of the speakers from stage at one point made a kind of offhand comment, just that kind of self-deprecating humor a little bit, and she put up her hand. She said, how many business owners in this room, raise it, show your hands, feel like the best kept secret in their industry? And at least, and Mike was right there, at least 30% or more, I couldn't count that fast as I was looking around, but just my mind's eye told me 30% of the people in that room thought their business was the best kept secret, which means they are invisible. They are not being seen. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation today. And I would wager, I would put money on it right now. I would put dinner, I'd put adult beverage on it, whatever it is, that the probably 90% of that 30% are laboring under some self-conceived self labels of they aren't ready to be seen, or they got to get something ready to get ready. I think it's self-inflicted, Mike. I really do.
Right. So, wouldn't 90% of 30% be 20%?
Probably. Oh, go figure. Yeah, go. And that was not the plan, dude. Welcome back to the 80-20 principle. Welcome back to Pareto's principle. We know that he's the Italian
I'm just saying
economist.
it. Maybe maybe I don't know. But listen, I don't know. I'm just saying it could be 10%. But yeah, what 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 visibility really means is, if you're afraid to put yourself out there, and you sort of have this imposter syndrome or commission breath, if you've heard that before, where you're forcing it. At some point you got to force it, and then it becomes natural. And
Mhm.
you're not going to please everybody, but you are going to please other people. And even if you don't please people, you can hammer through a cycle. Like, I have a friend of mine that is he's a trainer friend of mine, and he posts on social media, right? And he's like looking like he's reading from a prompter, and he's like, this is super fantastic, super happy, super smiley Sunday, and it's triple threat Thursday. He says stuff like that. He brings a great message. However, as much as that annoys me, I love this man, but as much as that annoys me, I love it because he goes, "Hey, I had my meal, I had my this. I look forward to his now I look forward to it. It annoyed
Mhm.
me, but now I look forward to it." I'm like, "My man, where's your short for the day or your reel, however he's throwing it up there." So it's just a matter of do you, right? Do your thing and obviously make it relevant. It'll be a little harder to get visibility if you're a spaz, but at some point
Maybe.
you'll make congruent statements. It will work. It might take a little longer. You might go through an alienation process. There's a difference, right? There's a cadence by which you deliver, and then there's visibility. There's standing out in a crowd and then alienating yourself just through not great practices, right? Like you wouldn't see a baseball player show up with a 2-inch dowel rod to try to hit a professional baseball pitcher throwing a ball. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't see a
Mhm.
soccer player. I mean, I guess with rules and all, you can't. But like, you wouldn't see a soccer player step onto the field barefoot, right? So there are certain frameworks that you have to stick to when you're shooting for visibility, and certain things you don't want to do. But the mental game, hang it up. If you're still hung up on the mental game where you're saying I'm not going to do this because I don't know, my childhood friends will know I'm not authentic. Who cares about them? Are they paying your bills? No, who cares? They're too busy
Right.
worrying about their deal. They're not worrying about your deal. So you worry about you, right? What do you say to that, Jake?
Well, I totally agree, man. Like there's because of that preconceived notion, and you were totally right when you talked about it earlier, is maybe society said something that you heard and you made this decision, but there's a whole bunch relative to visibility that is you got to get over yourself. Like
Oh wow.
just get past it. I mean, am I going to be Mel Gibson in Braveheart? Nope, sure not. That movie already got made. I got news for you. They're not making a part two. Like that, the movie ended. They're not making part two. They're not casting me for it. I'm okay with that. But what I can do is I do have a message. Mike has a message. We have a combined message. We have a methodology. We have businesses that need to be seen. Now, after we come back, we have a little middle of the thing that we always do, and I want to talk about where. Like it's in this moment, it's the mindset. In this first piece, it's what do we have to do? What can we share with the audience that is the helps you make a decision? So like Mel Robbins, 5-second rule, 1, 2, 3, 4, and she basically counts to five, says go, and she has to
Right.
do something. It's a great book. I heard somebody else. Actually, I think we heard it this weekend. Somebody counted down from 3, 2, 1, move. Like
Okay.
you've got to put some sort of trigger into place to get you moving to do the thing. Instead
Right.
of focusing on, man, I'm terrified about video and I'm scared about being on camera. Sure, that's going to continue to be the true if you continue to focus on it. Everybody knows my favorite coaching quote in the world, what you focus on expands. If the
Right.
if you're focused on the message and you're focused on your audience, it's not about you. And then the truth is, none of this is about you when it comes right down to it. If you're doing this as a vanity project, that looks different. If you're doing this as a genuine servant to your business, this is easy. This is easy to
Right.
get on film and talk about this stuff. So it's get over the self. What triggers do you have? Like what's a trick you can give the audience for getting it done, getting a movement?
Uh, my triggers for getting it done, I create a little bit of an artificial panic. I create a little bit of sense of urgency, false sense of urgency that I need to get things done as a trigger. And when I think I'm going to get exposed or somebody's going to look at me, back when I was, working in one business and I was growing, the coaching business, I thought somebody was going to look at me as a fraud. And then I said, you know what? The truth is, why do I care about you? You're still stuck doing this thing, not
Mm-hmm.
that thing. Not that there's anything wrong with people doing a certain thing their entire life. But when you're trying to move on to a higher calling because you want to widen your impact, and I didn't feel like talking about macro calories the rest of my life or biomechanics the rest of my life. I wanted to talk more impact in a different way. I left that world and I stopped caring about the judgment of that world from people that were still in it, because you will get criticized. And even explaining to my family, right? Like, you know, people often say, wow, I didn't know you had all that information in you. So the false sense of urgency, not completely surrendering to the process and not caring about what current placeholders in your life actually think. It's not about where you are, it's about where you're going. If you don't like who you are, what you're doing, re-identify who you are and reshape yourself. Reshape yourself. Speaking of reshaping yourself, dude, I think we should talk about how people can get the maximum amount of visibility possible. Now let's talk about battleground, right? Let's talk about boardroom battleground. Go for it,
Yep.
Jake. Let's enlighten people on this amazing docu process, competition, visibility, notoriety, respect piece that you and I have brilliantly concocted and are now currently filming. Let's talk about
Mhm.
boardroom battleground.
This is something that's not been done. Like, there's in the way that it's being done. Now, that's not to say this is a completely original business concept. This is being done in a way that hasn't been done. That from a
Okay.
process standpoint, battleground is all about really giving the business owners the recognition through the process of the entrepreneurial journey. Like, this is 24 episodes following these business owners through their day-to-day life, through
Yep.
what it takes to truly be an entrepreneur. Because a lot of people, us included, right? Everybody does the, man, I need to have my own business so that I can, be my own boss and make my own rules and do my own stuff. There's a lot more to it than that. And this is pulling back the curtain on the journey. This is pulling back the curtain on the coaching program. And this is really giving those businesses the credibility, the authority, and the recognition that they really deserve. So we're casting for our next set of seasons. We're working on some additional visibility packages. We'll talk more about that. But Boardroom Battleground, you can find on E360 TV. You can find it on our website, which is right there, www.total-disruption.com. Go to the website, fill out the application to see if you can be a contestant on the show. We'd love to have the conversation and love to see who we can connect you with to make sure you are seen, to make sure you are heard, to make sure that your audience feels your passion.
Go over here and literally check out our whole world, right? We can help you in more ways than one. And we're not going to bore you here on this platform, but come by, check us out. We're here. We're here to serve the community. We're here to serve our viewers. We're here to serve the public. www.total with a dash disruption disruption.com. total-disruption.com.
You are full
All
of knowledge,
right.
and it's true.
So go there and get you some of that. So now let's talk a little bit deeper. I learned something from a really powerful woman, right, this weekend. And she was talking about the reason why she shapes her coaching programs and her whole mission is because certain women, and I would say certain men as well, don't take action because of preconceived notions and societal pressures and that kind of thing. And you and I just started walking down that road, but I got massive validation from her. I never realized. I always look at everybody as equal, right? And apparently I've been a little bit naive in the world, because apparently people aren't looked at equally. People aren't looked at equally. I'm learning from color, from gender, from preferences. And when it comes down to a focal point, I mean, maybe if you're a lumberjack and you're hauling heavy things and you need a genetically superior being, maybe that comes into play from a strength to weight ratio standpoint. But I'm not saying that as a blank statement. I mean, situationally, the same thing. If you need somebody who's slight, lean, and compact, you're not going to go pick a 6'9" lumberjack, massive human being. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
listen, I don't know if certain female body types fit one versus male body types fit another. I don't know. But I always thought the world of competition that way was discrimination, right? I apparently a lot of that's going on out there. But she opened my eyes and she peeled it back to, hey, people don't do things because of what's in their head. And her goal is for it, it's specific to women to get women to get going. And I think that's a beautiful message. I mean, part of this whole visibility piece, in my opinion, Jake, is having people get what's inside of them out so that we all can learn from it, but learning from the person's journey, learning from what they're afraid of, how they've made it, before they've made it. What information do they have that they're doing better than us? Now, what do you think when I say that? Like, where does that leave you?
100%. 100%. The interesting part is how that impacted you. It had the same, like I flew home with that in my head around where that was. And I got home. I had a
Okay.
conversation with my wife and my daughters about that, exactly that thing, because I don't see the world through that lens. Like that's just not the space. Like I understand it. I hear it. And okay, I need to be more aware of it. I need to be more aware of it. I think of this to what you're talking about with these preconceived notions. I have been very fortunate in my universe to have multiple just superstar, super hitter women as mentors in my life.
Okay.
Just absolute rock star women as mentors in my life, that have had a tremendous impact on me because they believed in me. Like they just, without question, they just said, "Yeah, I believe in you." There was that way, and it impacted me, and it impacted me the exact same way that if somebody I looked up to would have said, "I don't believe in you." Like it had that effect on me to where I chose which label I wanted to run with, if that makes any sense. But I've had like Barb was one of the first ones. Brenda's been a tremendous one. I can think I actually met somebody that was a mentor for me in a NLP class I took. She happened to be at this event this weekend. I hadn't seen her since that class. It was cool because she was there as a facilitator during what was honestly one of the most impactful things I've ever been to in my life.
And
And I talked
that
about
was
being
what,
support.
7? That was 7 years, 8 years, eight.
2017. I
So
have,
8 years,
yeah, 2017 in November. Yeah. And I
really.
happened to see her this weekend, and it had an effect on me. I saw her and it was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to thank her." And I made a point of pulling her aside and thanking her because she was there in that moment. So how we're like, and I know we're getting a little bit sideways on visibility, but I think if we go all the way back to the beginning of this, where we started talking about there's a group of people that are choosing to be invisible, is where
Okay.
I would say that through those social constraints wherever they're going to be. I'm going to get phone calls. Cool. I'm going to get phone calls. I'm going to get text messages. I'm going to get direct messages over this. It's you're choosing it. You're choosing to be invisible. There are
Wow.
avenues for you. Like that's where I go with this one, because I spent a lot of years choosing to be invisible, choosing to be the person somebody else thought I was, until
Right.
I made the decision to be, I don't care what they think. I care what this person thinks. This person believes in me. I'm not going to let them down because I'm
Right.
going to show up and be visible.
So it's a choice. You made a choice. And
Mhm.
I don't know. It's kind of like I go through these stages, right? It's like, I guess it's like anything else. I go through these stages where I know what I should be doing and I don't do it. I say, the heck with it. I'll get there. I'm just not ready yet, which again is like
Mhm.
psychotic because it's me talking about me not being ready, but yet I'm not happy with what I'm doing. So, but yet I'm choosing it because I tell myself I'm not ready. It's like this open conversation I'm having with myself, like a madman. And it's
Uh-huh.
like, all right, man. Well, you know, at one point, you got to kick yourself in the ass and have a conversation. I'll give you a great example. When we needed, and you know this example, I'll give the audience an example. We needed one of the couple of our show opening episodes for Battleground, season 1, episode 1, season 2, episode 2. I needed to be recording something, and I was a little apprehensive because I suck using the teleprompter, and it's just not my forte. I was like, oh, do I have the right shirt on? I had this whole wall behind me stripped down. I'm kneeling to block there's a light switch behind me. I'm kneeling to block this light switch back here. And this plant wasn't here, unfortunately. And, I'm sitting here and I'm like, if I'm going to make this show great, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do this. And you know what? Instead of sitting there building this thing in my head, it took me, I don't know, post setup, took me 20 minutes. I just ran through it, used the teleprompter, and did it. So from a coaching perspective, I sought your advice. I sought our producer Peter's advice. I sought our TV coach Julianne's advice. I sought a lot of advice, and I did it. I got the shortcuts, and then I used them. And I don't know. Peter was like, "Just do it, and we'll edit it out." Okay, thank you, Peter. Love you, man. I don't even know what the hell that means. Edit it out, but because you say it, I'll get your best stuff. That's how TV works, folks. Obviously, not this show, because this show is extemporaneous, and I mean it's planned, but we're not really editing it. You don't see those skips in what we're saying because we let it roll. So when you hear me talk about, from a coaching moment standpoint, about getting over it and just taking that action, where does that leave you when you hear me say that?
Well, I think what I get out of that, Mike, is the fact that I think the vast majority of people have exactly that moment. They're apprehensive for one reason or the other. And but what I take from that the most is the fact that in that moment of apprehension, you sought counsel. You reached out to people, how can I make this better? What can I do? And you reached out to people that you knew, because you had a choice there too. You reached out to people that you knew could help you get it done. You could have reached out to people that are just like, you don't need to do that. Let's go shoot some hoops, or let's go, hit a ball over here. Let's go do the thing. You didn't. Yep. You reached out to the people. You said you reached out to me, which you did. You reached out to Peter, which you did. You reached out to Julianne, which you did. And you reached out to the people that are going to lift you up, that are going to build you up, that are going to say, man, you got this. This is easy for you. You can do this. And I think that's the critical element where so many people are choosing to be invisible. They're choosing not to reach out and ask. They're not, this goes back to Mark Victor Hansen, the book Ask. Like, you want the thing, ask. You want help, ask. It's pretty simple, but so many of us just choose not to do that. And that is just madness. So it's madness.
If there's one major coaching takeaway, ask, or take your Chat GPT and ask that, or take your Google and ask that, and go watch a video. It's rarely do people do anything, even people that are self-taught. Some folks are really self-taught. They start picking around, and there's that Eddie Van Halen genius out of how many thousands of guitar players, right? Never heard anyone else, just started plucking chords, and like whatever movie you see in a Beethoven-esque way, people get it done, right? If you're on the fence about visibility, taking action, need some coaching, need a little kick in the ass, those are some really valid coaching tips. Send a direct message to us on social media and we'll get back to you. Might not be right that second, but we'll 100% get back to you. And, I always thought about social media, speaking of which, and we're really getting short on time, but with social media, it's not necessarily about posting to your friends. What it becomes is a semi-digital resume, becomes a semi-display of the things you are doing. And if you're trying to advance yourself, like Jake and I are trying to advance ourselves, like we're trying to advance our clients, like we're trying to advance our contestants, like we're trying to advance you, our audience, we are putting it out there, right? And for people to come drive up, see us on social media, see some past episodes, hear what we're talking about, know that we care. They see the passion, they see the conviction. That's what we want to get for you guys. If that's the one takeaway. All right, Jake, we got about 30 seconds here, man. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to
Just the one, and it's the Michael said it. Like, if you're on social media, it's not really about you, it's about your audience. So make sure you pick your platforms. Like, if you know all your people on LinkedIn or on LinkedIn, don't spend your time on Instagram. Go to LinkedIn, do the stuff on LinkedIn. Like, go where your audience is and be that person there. Show up and make it about them. Come from contribution all the time.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake. On behalf of Jake Clendenning, I'm Mike Libersi. It is now your turn to disrupt. We'll see you next time on Total Disruption.